Hey, hi, it's TheZenWitch here with another unboxing video, and this is a relatively new deck that I am unboxing today. Let's do it! So the deck we're looking at today is called The Dark Mirror by Laura Sava. It's an oracle deck, so not in tarot format. And I was attracted to this immediately because I'm Plutonian and, it is in the current trend of packaging, which is this lovely heavy box, not too big, Lo Scarabeo, which is the European end of Llewellyn. Yeah, Llewellyn. So we just have the title. And of course, full disclosure again, I already opened the box, but we will get to the true unboxing someday when I'm buying a whole bunch of more new decks. And so when you open the box, we've got, well, let's look at the back here. We have 3 cards. And, okay, so these must be, oh, these are all in different languages. So the English says, a spiritual mirror for those who are not yet shining in the light, but are still surrounded by darkness. So this is a deck for when you're in those really dark times. And boy, do I appreciate that. When you open the box, you've got a little ribbon here that lets you lift things out easily, theoretically. There's the book, typical for the day, the stiff paperback. And the edges are kind of colored. And you do get, no, you don't get the images of the cards. We will look at the book second. As always, I like to jump right into the artwork. So let's pull these cards out. There are, let's turn them over. Nice black box, nice dark with silver letters. I mean, it's got the feel for sure for what it does. So the one card is Triumph of Lies, and I want you to notice that there are moon phases on the sides of the cards. We'll talk about what those are about when we get to the book, so let's whip through these really quick. Okay, number 1, the Triumph of Lies. 2, the Temple of My Body. Look at the claws. Ooh. 3, Obsession. 4, Is This Me? Wow. 5, Gilded Regret. Boy, is that a rich image. Gilded Regret. And a crescent moon. 6, Alone in the World. 7, Sacrifice. 8, The Child I Was Meant to Be. Wow. 9, Envious Gluttony. Dang. 10, Colorless Angel. 11, Addicted. Whew, that's really strong. 12, Artificial Heart. 13, Blinded to Pain. 14, Hiding Your True Self. 15, Masquerade. 16, Black Flower Fragrance. 17, Forgetting Oneself. 18, Naked Before the Stars. 19, Parasite. 20, Downcast Pride. 21, Bride in a Cage. 22, I Won't Cry for You. 23, Revenge. 24, Queen of My World. 25, Fated to Suffer. 26, Peaceful Among Thorns. 27, Fragmentation. 28, perchance to dream. Wow. 29, anger and chains. 30, calling the storm. 31, atonement, or at-one-ment, some may say. 32, today for tomorrow. There's a trade-off. And that's the last card. So, amazing. And this does say 30. Yeah, 32 cards. All right. Wow. So, backs of the cards. Really nice geometric pattern. Again, nice and dark. So the whole deck, I mean, has that beautiful, just dark vibe. And I so appreciate a deck that acknowledges this, because we get into dicey territory when everything becomes love and light, love and light. Now, that's not to say that being positive isn't important. There's always room for a reframe, to look at something in a positive light, to find out, in the midst of darkness, what is the most I can pull out of this? What is the light that I can pull out of my circumstances? However, we go too far when we go into denial of the dark, when it's all, oh, I don't want to hear about it, love and light, love and light. I don't want to hear about anything bad. That is privilege in action. If you have the privilege of being able to ignore anything bad, then your life is pretty goddamn good. That's all I'm going to say. So in order to break through the darkness, we must acknowledge it. We must walk into it. We must embrace it. So I am fully on board with a deck that goes there. Okay. So in the hand, it feels nice. It fits nicely. This way, a little large, but not too large. And if I want to riffle shuffle, I suppose I can get away with that. Yeah, I can get away with it rather nicely. Some decks just won't let you do it. So I'm going to do 3 riffle shuffles because it is a smallish deck. It's doable with this size cards. So there's 2. And then I'm going to cut shuffle once through, and then I'm going to take 3 off the top. And we'll see how this works. I didn't blow on them to wake them up, so here. I will blow on them and wake them up. All right. This deck has been blessed. I always go and bless my decks. I smudge them. I bless them with salt water. I anoint them with oil. But then when they've been sitting for a while, I just blow on them to wake them up. And I realize I've been cut shuffling, and I said I would do it once. So let's go one more time, and then 3 off the top. So this is part of telling your deck what you're doing, so it knows how to arrange the cards. Work with it. Work with it, folks. Make it easy. Okay. And of course, I didn't frame a question, but so if I'm, not framing a question, I will say the readings I've done with this deck for myself have been right on accurate. So if this one doesn't hit for me in particular, perhaps it's going to hit for you. Think about what you need to know. So we have Triumph of Lies, Downcast Pride, and Queen of My World. So let's look at the book here. We've got table of contents. There's English, Italian, Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Ruski. So as with Lo Scarabeo, being European, you get, the book itself is going to be pretty small, but then it's translated into all the different languages. So what is a dark mirror? Potentially it is the murky surface of our wounded, scarred spiritual lakes. As we live out each day in our modern society, our spiritual self is under constant pressure, often a neglected and abused child in the cold mansion of our humanity. We do our best to nurture and protect it, but we often fail, distracted by duty, reason, greed, and unsurprisingly, the pull of the material world. Or it could be the screen of a mobile phone, a laptop or pad, or even a larger silent TV screen. Isn't it ironic that we give to these black devices the power to be the windows to our world? Still, even with all the faults of being human, it's a little cliche to see darkness as our only way to be real and true to ourselves. It's not that. Darkness, as light, as hope, as energy, is an ingredient to life, a part of the spiritual as much as it is a part of the emotional and of the physical. Darkness is also a metaphor for many psychological processes we go through every day. It's not an unknown world, neither is an unexplored and dangerous land. It's just a part of us. Bravo! I'm loving this. Oracles are a simple tool to ask a question and receive an answer. They allow us to delve deep into the darkness of who we are and why. What changes among them is what kind of questions... Okay, wait a minute. What changes among them is what kind of questions and what kind of answers. Okay. So we have 5 concepts here. Each card, and this is worth going into. Each card within the Dark Mirror Oracle has an aspect relating to one of the following 5 concepts. As you read over each card, use these ideas to understand what is going on in your own spiritual soul. The moon. The moon is about the cycle of nature. It waxes and wanes. It gives us a rhythm to our life in the darkness. Not all darkness is without light, even if it's with the light of the moon. So each card has a moon phase, as you saw here. We've got a full moon there, we've got a new moon there, and we've got a waxing or waning gibbous. That would be a waxing gibbous. No, that would be, I don't know. Anyway, I'll find out when I look it up. The next part is grief processing. Pain, mourning, grief, they happen, they come, and they stay, and they can break us apart. Our mind cannot fight grief directly. Instead, it slowly processes through the emotions with time, walking through 5 different stages. Denial. In this stage, we try to numb our emotions to the pain. We're refusing to accept the event which brought on the feelings. We try to delude ourselves in that it didn't happen, or that what happened can be turned around, or that it's not that bad. 2, anger. Once we cannot numb our emotions and act like they aren't there anymore, we give space to anger. We redirect those still too painful to bear emotions outside. We blame, we fight, we scream, we take it out. 3, bargain. Once anger subsides and we have exhausted our strength, we try to cope with the grief by postponing it, making it less severe or less urgent. We try to talk our way out of the consequences, accepting what we want to hear and rejecting what we don't. 4, depression. As bargaining is doomed to fail, we take all of our emotions inside, bringing them in the darkest cave of our heart. We let them fester, and we hide them from the outside, letting them gnaw at our inside as we bring out a mask of indifference. 5, acceptance. Ultimately, even our self-destructive effort will fail. Rather than destroy ourselves, we somehow digest these emotions and make them part of our being. We allow sadness in, and by being sad, we express our grief and move forward. Those are beautiful, beautiful descriptions of the phases of grief. And then a visual seed, a description of the card as it looks like. You can tell somebody that doesn't speak English wrote this. The card as it looks like. It could offer a meditation seed, so look at the card and let it speak to you. Then there's a sentence, reflection upon the card meaning through a single sentence to think or meditate on, and then going dark. We fear the dark, yet sometimes we need to embrace our fear and walk through it. It is not an easy task because even if we are strong, the darkness can also be strong. It is a part of us and strikes us where we are weak. It is a necessary process sometimes. Stare into the darkness, walk into the darkness, and let the darkness in. Look into a dark mirror. So that is a synopsis of what you're going to see when you look at the meaning for each one of these cards. You're going to see a moon phase. You're going to see what phase of grief the card focuses on. You're going to see a visual seed, a description of the card. You're going to see a sentence that encapsulates the meaning. And then you're going to get some more writing down below that really dives deep into the abyss. Okay? Then it tells you a simple way to read when you feel sad and dark, when things looks uphill and you are flooded by negative emotions and feelings or lingering memories. For those, use the Dark Mirror Oracle. Just draw a card, take the time to look at it. Let the card accompany you to the dark side. Look into the card for the reflection of your shadow. Your shadow is all about those negative feelings. Follow them. Then look away from the dark mirror and come back to the light. Take a big breath. Do not think about it too much too soon, but think about it. Then there's a more advanced way to read. Returning to the very first topic of this booklet, what kind of questions would you ask a dark mirror? Questions you don't like the answer. See, this is so fun because somebody that was not an English speaker wrote this. Questions you don't like the answer. Questions which force you to change. questions which make you deal with pain and pressure. So, wow, these are great. This is I hadn't read this intro before. Oh, and then it really goes into it. Questions you don't like the answer. Questions and then questions which force you to change. So I'm not going to read those, but there's a page on each of those questions to help you go deeper and figure out what that means. So this really is a guidebook to help you learn to start approaching these dark areas and how to open a dialogue with them. Because, I mean, what's the classic in our culture? I'm afraid of the dark. Well, our culture is afraid of the dark. That's why we have a culture of death denial. That's why we have so much depression and anxiety, because people are told to just get over it and cope with it and suck it up, buttercup, and all that fuck you kind of stuff. So I'm really, really digging this. And then there's a thing here that says walking the cards. It's time to meet the cards in their reflections. So walking through them. I love that image, because grief, I've talked about that before, is walking through grief. There's no way out except through, so you have to walk through it. And since my first card was the number 1 card, we go right to there. So we see that we have Triumph of Lies. We have the Moon phase, which is waxing gibbous. Okay, I was right the first time. The grief stage is bargaining. The visual seed is, okay, well, right here it says, if something hurts me, I change myself so it can stop. Down here, visual seed, headless mannequins. Really? Okay, yeah, headless mannequins. I didn't quite see those before. Headless mannequins crowd against each other under a cold moon. No, a cold neon light. God, my light's not good. They are dressed in luxury clothes and pricey accessories. Among them, one has a crowned skull floating where her face was supposed to be. So she is one of them. And then the sentence, that's the visual seed. And the sentence is, wait a minute, let me just take a peek here, because it mentioned the moon, grief processing, and then visual seed. But there's that statement right here. There's this statement that is awesome too. Okay. The sentence is, not all that glitters is gold. Emptiness is felt when there is nothing under the dress. Okay, fascinating. And I'm going to read Going Dark for this one, but probably not for the others. The Triumph of Lies is about appearance. So yes, under the dress, when there's nothing under the dress. And appearance is always so important in the world. Day by day it seems more important. Can that be a lie too? We seek to be what the world outside desires, and not necessarily society at large. Our family or partners or friends place judgments on what we should be. In the dress we choose, we carve a mask of expectations, behaviors, and values to live by. It offers stability to ourselves and our relations, as being honest and true to ourselves can be too tiring, too easy to make us hurt. Unfortunately, the relationship with our mask is not as straightforward as it feels. Inside the mask, envy grows, vanity takes root, lack of self-confidence becomes a habit. It gnaws at us and hurts us from the inside. It feels like it is ourselves, but it's not really authentic. It's just a lie we have made habit to believe in. When our lies become a gilded cage and our dress became a burden, when our lies became a gilded cage and our dress became a burden, we should remember that we were born naked. Okay. So there's a buttload. That is just a load of wisdom. And, you know, it rings so loudly for me because I'm so used to decks that don't deal with these things. And one that absolutely deals with it. Okay, Downcast Pride. So I'm not going to read the whole deep dark thing for each one, but we will do the other two. Downcast Pride. So the first one was all about appearances and calling bullshit to that and finding what's really inside. Downcast Pride. The moon phase is new. The stage is depression. The phrase is bending to adapt becomes an excuse for the habit of bending. The visual seed, the eyes. Dark with dried blood tears, look downward. The face of a dark-skinned, beautiful elf with gold laurels among her hair is stern and motionless. Roots plunge into her body from a golden collar. The sky behind her, is as gray as concrete. And the sentence is, the root of sadness and grief is deeper than the skin. The only delusion is the gray sky. Wow. I mean, these are very unconscious. There's a very subconscious Jungian whole thing to this, because we're not dealing with the everyday details of life. Necessarily, the dark, when you're going for the dark, you're going to the inner. You're going to what's inside, in the dark. And that's where the wisdom is. The darkness of your heart is where the wisdom is, and where the pain is too. So, damn. And then the last one, 24, Queen of my world. Moon phase is full, the stage is bargain. I set limits to my world. Inside I am queen, and outside is lost. The visual seed. Onto a snowy background, white columns rise through the forest. A pale woman dressed in scarlet, bright red, with a crown of thorns and a white luminous lance strides forward, her posture confident and her feet bare. Sentence, I am my world and my world is me. I am royalty. Wow, so that's really about just really, truly embracing exactly where you're at and stepping into the power place. I always tell people, when you need to fix something, for instance, if you have a sewing machine that's broken and you decide to put it in a closet and lock it away because it's broken, is it going to get fixed? It's not. In order to fix it, you've got to open that door, you've got to pull the machine close, you've got to dig in and take it apart and see what's inside of it in order to fix it. So as long as we're pushing away heavy emotion, we're not going to be able to fix it. And so also when we push it into the dark, the fear comes up. And when we're afraid to look at something, we can so easily go into lockdown, because your fear is always going to make things bigger than they are. I'm going to make a guarantee to you. Most of the time, 98% of the time, something is never as bad as fear makes it. So the first step is to haul it into the light of day. And in order to fix something that's broken, you have to embrace, you have to pull it close, you've got to get your hands on it. All right. So this deck sounds like something that will help you get your hands on the dark, particularly if you find yourself in a place of, I just don't know what the fuck is going on. I know something's terribly wrong and I'm miserable and I'm hating my life and I don't know what and I don't know why and all that shit. I would say go for this, because it's going to help you identify exactly what it is that is being smothered and hidden and smushed down. So I don't know if those, so Triumph of Lies, Downcast Pride, Queen of My World, they didn't really strike. Okay, so we're talking about appearances and twisting yourself inside out to adapt. Okay, so there's a thread here. So we're talking about being concerned with the externals and what other people think. And then we're taking it to the next level here of turning yourself inside out to be accepted, until the turning inside out itself becomes a habit and becomes your comfort zone. I will just make myself into whatever people want me to be. So can you see a dark path here? Absolutely. And then Queen of My World can talk about, and now I'm comfortable here because I'm just going to own this whole mess that I've created. This can also say that the way out is becoming queen of that world and saying, I'm going to own this. I'm going to own the territory in which I have placed myself. I have created these boundaries. I'm going to step in and own it and, step into the power place. So again, when you're denying something and ignoring something and shoving it away, that is the victim place. because you can't work on it. And then you're just, this is the way it is and there's nothing I can do about it. Whenever you hear yourself saying, I have no choice, there's nothing I can do about it, recognize there always, always, always is a choice. And the first choice is to step into acceptance and accept, this is where I'm at right now. Whether I like it or not, whether it feels good or not, this is where I am. And as soon as you step into acceptance, you step into the power place and you can start to make changes. So that's what I want you to take away from that. And that's Queen of the World here, is Queen of my world, is stepping into the power place. And now I will survey this landscape. I will decide what stays, what goes. I will decide that I'm going to do something about it and what I'm going to do about it. So there's my sermon for the day. So this deck, rating wise, artistically, it's beautiful, it's dark, it takes you, this is probably the happiest card in the deck, just color wise. That's the only bright color, you know, bright sunny color that you see. There's blues, there's deep reds, but there's only that one card that has something kind of sunny yellow in it. So artistically, I'd give them a 5. I'd say they're absolutely beautiful. Writing, God, 5+. It just, the book itself is going to help you, if you know, with whatever you're struggling with. I love that there's a phrase. I love that there's a sentence so that you can have that quick hit of meaning. I love that there are moon phases and grief phases. This is, you know, above all to serving to familiarize you with the phases of grief. Grief is part of life, and you can learn how to grieve well. There's grieving well and there's grieving not well, and I think these can certainly help you grieve well. The it factor, hell yeah. I would say they definitely have the it factor. Highly recommended. It's a great new deck. Let's see when it, didn't look at the copyright, 2018. So yeah, this is not even a year old. And I would say anybody that lives life, anybody whose life sucks now and again, anybody who is in active grief, anybody who's familiar with depression and anxiety, I have those disorders. So yeah, and this is the foil on the cover too. It's got that beautiful silver foil. Come on, shine for me, baby, shine for me. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this. This is, get your deck for Samhain. This can be your Samhain deck. All right. Highly recommended. Thank you so much for being with me. I am the Zen Witch. I'm putting up videos every Monday. I will be doing unboxings of new decks, and I'm also doing a series unboxing the classics, and I will be looking at some really classic old decks, some of which are actually out of print, but you know, they're always there for you. It never hurts to go back to the classics. If you like what you hear and see, please subscribe. Please click the like button. Please let me know what you'd like to hear from me. If you're interested in a reading from me, I can hook you up with that as well. So thanks again for being here. See you next Monday. Blessed be.